Hi buddy, Michael here. Today's video I want to explain the dangers of ethno-nationalism and a sensible alternative. Let's go. Okay, so I want to do this video because I've been talking a lot about nationalism and why I don't agree with the hardcore ethnos, because I believe a lot of them are going down the path of the 1930s German. A lot of them are worshipping the German painter, and their idea is not even sensible ethno-nationalism. They're going down racial purity and they're going down dangerous paths, and most people don't really understand what's going on here. And a lot of people will watch interviews with Steve Laws, and he talks a lot of sense about England for the English and this migration crisis is out of control. Yes, he talks a lot of sense, but he also talks a lot of extremist, dangerous stuff. And that's the issue I have. The issue I have with him is his obsession with the Jews and with the National Socialists. And maybe not necessarily him, even though I've heard him talk about it, but a lot of the ethnos in that circle are like that, such as Zuma Historian. Zuma Historian had a YouTube channel that was dedicated to doing videos about the 1930s German and why they were the good guys, essentially. And they do a load of posts on X talking about racial purity, and I think these are very, very dangerous avenues that people are going down. And a lot of the time when I criticise Steve Laws, people come on here and go, why are you criticising Steve Laws? He talks a lot of sense. And I say, well, he's a National Socialist sympathiser. And they go, no, he isn't. He isn't. But I'm doing this video just to clarify and show you proof that him and his crew are. And that's why I want nothing to do with them. And I believe that you should want nothing to do with them. So before so I suppose you could say expose them or explain why I disagree with them, I just want to clarify, I understand that we have problems in this country with demographic. I'm not a civic nationalist. I call myself an ancestral nationalist. I consider anybody who has English heritage from their mum or grandparents, or any parent or grandparents, they are English to me. So this is why I differ from the hardcore ethnos. So someone like Ben Habib, his mother is English, his father's Pakistani. They do not consider him English, and they say they want him deported, whereas I do consider him English, and I am happy for him to stay in the country, and I would be even happy for him to be Prime Minister. Whereas these are sort of doing the racial purity of the mid-century Germans, because they're saying, no, you're not white, you're out, even though he has English blood. Now let me just get back to explaining why I believe these people are National Socialists, and I mean it's pretty abundantly clear if you actually know who these people are. Now, Zuma Historian, I'd say probably the two main ethnos on X are Zuma Historian and Steve Laws. And as you can see here from Zuma Historian's tweet, it says, people are not only shifting to the right, but shifting to Hitlerism and National Socialism specifically. No government has any clue remotely on how to contain what is happening. They won't even understand what's going on. Who would have known that flooding white countries with hostile third world invaders would make Europeans turn to the most extreme pro-white thing within reach? So as you can see here, he's saying that people are shifting to Hitlerism and National Socialism specifically. He's saying that's a good thing, and that's what he promotes. This is why his YouTube channel is dedicated to sympathising with the mid-century Germans. And then if you're wondering about Steve Laws, well, there's just a video here from Zuma Historian of a load of foreigners or / mixed race people, and it says you can only pick one to stay. Who are you picking? And basically mostly foreigners. But then you do have Ben Habib and Calvin Robinson, who do have one English parent. But then Steve Laws comes in and says, I do not want to play this game. So he doesn't even want to consider any of these people being in England, even the two English people there. And I believe that is extremism, and you're going down some extremist racial Puritan way that the National Socialists did in the mid-century Germans. And this is a dangerous path, because if you just look at their ideology, for them to carry out their ideology of deporting all non-white people, then you're going to have to enact authoritarian measures, and all authoritarianism is evil. But then you also have to consider, well, let's use Ben Habib for an example. His mother's English, his father's Pakistani. If every nation adopted ethno-nationalism, Steve Laws would say we're deporting Ben Habib because he's Pakistani. And let's say that the Pakistanis said, well, we don't want him. He's English because he's got an English mother. So then what happens? Those sort of people would be stranded. And then you would need a solution. And this is the problem that the Nazis faced. And they came up with a final solution, as we all know. And their final solution was they believed the Jews were evil. So they put them all in death camps. And what did they do about the mixed race people? Because in Germany at the time, you did have some mixed race Germans because some German women married some French African soldiers. And what happened? The Nazis, many of these mixed race people were forcibly sterilized. They were excluded from schools, jobs, and civil rights, and they were never considered truly German under Nazi racial ideology. And this is the dangers that you face. And that you're thinking, oh no, why are you attacking these people? This is why I'm exposing these people, because they follow dangerous ideologies. They have they're not sensible ethnos, because if people were sensible, ethno-nationalism, yes, it makes sense. England for the English, and historically, we're a white country. So that makes sense. But when you start going down this racial purity and you want to remove mixed race people, such as Ben Habib and others who are half English, or what I consider English by ancestry, then you're having problems. And if these people got any power, what do you think is going to happen? They would do what the mid-century Germans did, especially when they also have this obsession with the Jews. And this is why I advise people to stay away from it. And also another major problem is, what will probably happen at some point in this country is a native English person will get extremized or will fall into extremism, and they'll probably go and attack whether it be they attack some Jews or attack a mosque. Something like that is probably going to happen at some point, unfortunately. And what will happen from there is the powers that be will use tweets and content from the likes of Zimmer Historian and Steve Laws and say, look, this is what people who are nationalists are like. They're extremists and they've caused this, and then all forms of nationalism will be cracked down upon and we'll lose more of our rights. And that's why I encourage people to listen to sensible people such as myself, because I'm not going to be falling into any traps that the media are going to lay or the establishment are going to lay. If you follow these people, Zimmer Historian, Steve Laws, these people are stupid and naive, and they're very dangerous because of their naivety, and they're going to cause problems down the line. And also they're promoting it. I mean, it is an evil ideology, make no mistake, and I will never follow these people. Even though if 80% of what they talk about may be right, if 20% is dangerous and evil, I want nothing to do it. So if somebody comes along and they've got the most perfect policies to save our nation, but they also want to lower the age of consent to 6 years old so that they can allow grown men to marry 6-year-old girls, you're not going to vote for them because that one policy is evil. And that's what I'm saying. You may agree with these people on a lot of things, but they also have some evil ideology, and don't be deceived by it. And as the old saying goes, you cannot overcome evil by evil. You can only overcome evil with good. And this movement is growing all over the world. It's not just with a few people online here. If you look at the other day in America, you had all the influencers doing Hail Hitler, thinking it's like kooky and funny because you've got hardcore leftists, hardcore rightists, and hardcore Muslims attacking the Jews. And it makes no sense because all those people in America, most of them were mixed race, and I think one of them was actually white. You could imagine Hitler turning his grave when the National Socialist movement in America is being picked up by a bunch of non-white people and Candace Owens. It's ridiculous and absurd. So ignore these people. They're clowns. They're low-level beings who they'd have no spiritual wisdom, no grace from God, and stick with people such as myself and many other wise people out there. And I don't know if I said, but a lot of our youth, I think Zoomer's Historian and Steve Laws are victims as well. And I'd encourage them. I don't really have any hatred towards them from a spiritual point of view because they've been brainwashed as well. Just like a lot of our youth have been brainwashed into Marxism, now people are going the other way and they're being brainwashed into National Socialism. So in many ways, I feel sorry for them because they're victims. But they need to repent, turn away from their evil ways, and listen to wise people such as myself. Otherwise, I'm going to fight them. If you're following evil, I'm going to fight you, or good people are going to fight you. That's just the way it's going to be. So I'm going to have to, if we're going to have to fight the communists, we'll fight them. If we're going to have to fight the Islamists, we'll fight them. If we're going to have to fight the National Socialists, we're going to fight them. And we're going to fight them on behalf of God and Christ with the power of the Logos. And that's why I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. And instead of having hardcore ethno-nationalism, I like to call it ancestral nationalism. Create a new category. So basically anybody who has an English parent or grandparent is considered English. Okay? And then we'll look after our country from there with the grace of God. And we'll have a spiritual revolution and restore our country. Okay, so if you like what I'm talking about, subscribe to this channel, like the video, share it with as many people as you can to warn about the dangers, especially among our youth. I know people are desperate, things are bad, but we don't need to fall into extremism. We need to turn to God. That's the alternative. Okay? God bless everybody today. Goodbye.